Hi guys, welcome to my channel. If you see, I am very upset. I know a lot of you are very upset. I don't know what happened with the Facebook group. I had no knowledge. My own family members, my daughter, my son, my husband have all been removed from the group. Every member has been removed from the group. There are no more members in the group at all. And like I said, I have no idea what happened. And I was doing some research. I was going to make some videos before my kids came home from school. And what happened was, as soon as I got up to go do the videos, I looked at my phone. I avoid Facebook like the plague because it's a time suck. And with this group, that's what I walked away from last week. Last week I walked away from this because I can't. I created something that I thought was going to benefit you guys, thought was going to give you a place to talk, would allow me to come in once in a while, and apparently that wasn't going to be the case. And apparently it was the biggest mistake that I have made regarding this channel was to create this Facebook page, because all it has brought me is grief. It's brought a lot of you grief, and I got so many messages. I received so many messages today. Why was I kicked out of the group? I can't believe you kicked me out of the group. I didn't do anything. How did I get kicked out of the group? And I had no knowledge of this. And I've worked so hard to build this channel, to do the research, to bring you guys this stuff. I'm sorry. But I worked so hard on this. And to think that people think that I was there doing this. What I even said in my video yesterday, that I walked away from this. I couldn't take the drama. I hate drama. I hate it. I never wanted to bring it to my channel. I am so disgusted by it. And yet, here we are. We've got drama. We've got drama because apparently people love drama. And it's just, I don't understand. But I'm telling you that I am not going to be, I'm going to go in after this, and I'm going to remove my channel's name from that group. I am going to remove any trace of a connection to me. If the moderators that did this want to go in and create their own group, they can go and do that. But I am not going to do that. Someone told me about Discord or something. I haven't looked into that, but after this, I am so rattled. I am so rattled over this, because to think that people think that I had something to do with this and I didn't. You know, when someone says, I don't need anyone to help me fail, okay? I don't need anyone to help me look bad. I don't need that, okay? I've tried to bring you content. I've tried to do research. I've tried to bring you facts. I've tried to take you so far away from the drama because I hate it. And now I just feel we're embroiled. We're embroiled in drama now because of this stupid group. And so I can't respond to all these messages. I put a post up on the page. The page I'll keep up because it's open. It's not a discussion type forum. It's just for me to put the videos up there. But the group, I can't do the group anymore. I can't. It's killing me. It's been killing me for since it's been up. I don't know if you've noticed it. And a lot of you said, yeah, I look stressed. You know where that stress is coming from? That group. Because it's all the messages, it's all the cattiness, and was I removed, and this one said this, and it's all these little fights that erupt in there. And it's been killing me, because I've been saying to my husband for the past 2 weeks, there's a monster here. That's what I said. I created a monster here. I thought it was something good. I thought it was a good thing, but it wasn't. It wasn't. And I can't have it. I can't have it. And I'm so afraid now that everything I built up here at this channel, people are going to be like, oh, well, she's horrible. She removed us from the group when I had nothing to do with it. Okay? And I don't know. what I love to do is do research and bring you great content in videos. And I should have just stuck with that. I heard that you guys liked the live chats that we had and you wanted them to last longer. I tried to look for a solution for that. That's what I was doing. But apparently, Facebook was not the solution. And someone told me, like I said, about Discord, but at this time, I'm shell-shocked. I don't know that I want to even do anything else like that. But that I'll look into later. I am just really emotionally rattled from this whole thing. So I wanted you to know that, please, and understand that if you were taken out of that group, well, anybody that was in that group is taken out. Like I said, my daughter, my son, my husband, gone, okay? I can't even reach any of the moderators. Moderators were gone. So I don't know what happened there, okay? Now, maybe is there, I've tried to think, well, what is an explanation for this? And I'm going to say, did they think that there were too many trolls or whatever, and they thought they'd start fresh? But if that was the case, leave a message somewhere that you're doing that, and understand that, boy, Carolyn's going to be bombarded with, thousands of messages of people accusing her. And that's the thing. If you were doing something for the good of the group, then just let people know, look, hey, there's too much going on in this group. We have to, remove everyone and we're going to start fresh. Whatever, I don't know. But let people know so that I'm not getting 1,000 messages and people thinking that I kicked them out, because everybody's thinking it happened to just them. And they think they were blocked from the group because they can't see the group, because I think they made the group private. There is no group anymore. Everybody's gone. Everybody's gone from the group. So it happened to everyone. Nobody was singled out. And I have no more information on it than you do, other than that everybody was removed. That's the only information I have. But I really hope that we can move on with this and that the channel can stay strong and grow, because that is what I've been trying to do here, really. And that's the most important thing, is connecting with you through the videos. That's what I like to do. That's what I'm having good conversation with you at, and that is what you guys are responding to and telling me that you enjoy. So I hope that we can continue this mutually beneficial kind of entertainment news that we have here, and we can just let this Facebook go. I am not going to start another Facebook group. Like I said, I'll leave the page there, but after I get these videos done, I am done with the Facebook group. I'm going to go in and remove my name, remove the page, and if they want to start their own true crime, message group or whatever they want to call it, they can go and do that. But I'm not going to be involved in it. I'm not going to be involved in it. Okay? All right, let's hope that we can move on. I hope you guys are not upset with me, and I hope that everybody sees this and knows that I didn't do this. So there are some things regarding the Chris Watts case, and I really need a cup of tea after this. I need like a cup of chamomile tea. Okay. There are some things. Remember when I was reading you the reports from when he was in jail from August, I think it was the 17th, up till almost the end of September. And then there was only one bad report, right? And I even said something. I read the officer's name, and this is how I knew it in the video. It was Tippett. It was Officer Tippett. And I'm going to, okay. So in a report that was in that discovery, I noticed this. This was all stuff about inmate Watts, his height, his weight, and all of that stuff, and then special instruction medications. There were none noted, but then it said, remember, he refused medication. So I think the medication might have just been, I don't know, something standard, maybe Tylenol. I don't know. But here's what I found interesting. It says, keep separate. And then it says 10842, banking, comma, gay, enemy, E-N-E-L. This is weird. Okay, this is very weird. It says keep separate. And then there's a number, I don't know whether it's the badge number of the CO or whatever. It's at 10842. It says banning, comma, gay, and then it says E-N-M-Y, and then in parentheses it says in all caps enemy. Okay, E-N-E-M-Y. And then it says banning states that she personally knows the victims of the Watts case. So I don't know whether her nickname in there, maybe because her last name is Enemy and they call her Enemy, that might be a nickname. I don't know. Or that's something that they use. I don't know what it is. When I read the other one, I don't know what that means, because the other guy, you know what? I think that must be some term in there, because the other guy has it too. So his name is Gay Banning. And then we've got this E-N-M-Y next to that. And then in parentheses next to that name, it's E-N-E-M-Y. So it says banning states that she personally knows the Watts victims, the victims of the Watts case. So they want to keep her separate from him, I guess, because she probably told them it's too much, emotionally for her to do that, or she couldn't treat him objectively, whatever it is. So she's separated from, I guess, having any interaction with him. But then listen to the other one. The other one is 10846, Tippett Derrick. That's the one he had that said that Watts was trying to manipulate him and everything, and it was out of character with all of the other ones. And it says here, okay, after his name, E-N-M-Y, and then in parentheses it says E-N-E-L-I-L-Y. I don't know what that means, but it says inmate Tippett was harassing inmate Watts in S-Pod. Something is wrong. They don't mean inmate. I think they mean CO Tippett, because that's who wrote the report. A lot of times when they transcribe this stuff, there's errors like crazy, but I am sure. How coincidental would that be to have the CO is Tippett that writes that one out of character report there, and then for this separate thing. So it says, and he has the same, 5-digit number as banning. So I think that's the CO that was having that thing with him, and maybe somebody had seen him harassing him. I don't know. So that was just an interesting little tidbit there. And then let me go to that. I have some breaking news with the Kelsey Berreth case, and then we'll get back to some Chris Watts stuff, but there is breaking news with the Kelsey Berreth case that I think was coordinated. We were wondering, when is this nurse going to be charged? Because it seemed like definitely this nurse is going to be charged, right? And I think they were very wise with what they did. He's due back in court on the 19th, and so they timed this that she's going to be back a little on the 8th, which is a little over a week before he goes back. And, well, about a week and a half, whatever. You know what I mean, right? A little, And she is expected, she's going to be charged. Okay, I'll read you the summons. Okay, let's see here. It says, okay, she has, let's see here. This was filed on February 4th. The people of the state of Colorado versus Crystal Jean Lee Kenny. And you can see this right online, it's a public document. Tampering, count one. Charges are, count one, tampering with physical evidence. And it says here that the district, Daniel H. May, district attorney for the 4th Judicial District of the state of Colorado, in the name and by the authority of the people of the state of Colorado, informed the court of the following offenses committed or triable in the county of Teller. And it says that between and including November 24th, 2018 and November 25th, 2018, that Crystal Jean Lee Kenny, believing that an official proceeding was pending or about to be instituted and acting without legal right or authority, unlawfully and feloniously destroyed, mutilated, concealed, removed, or altered physical evidence with intent to impair its verity or availability in the pending or prospective official proceedings in violation of section, and it lists the section, all offenses against the peace and dignity of the people of the state of Colorado. So, you know, she got that, which is leaves a lot of us wondering, how come NK wasn't charged with the same thing, right? Because didn't she do that very thing when she deleted text messages and photos and all of that? Didn't she do that very thing? I don't know. It certainly seems like it. Okay, so let's go back to this Crystal now, because we've got something else for Crystal. We have the proposed felony summons for her, okay? And there it says that you are hereby notified that it's from the people of Colorado again. People of the state of Colorado versus Crystal Jean Lee Kenny. There's that Lee name again. You are notified that a complaint has been filed in the court in which it is represented to the court that Crystal Jean Lee Kenny is alleged to be a defendant for the reasons set forth in the complaint, a copy of which is attached and incorporated herein by reference. The court hereby informs the defendant that pursuant to the provisions, blah, 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 the defendant is restrained, enjoined, and prohibited from harassing, molesting, intimidating, retaliating against, or tampering with any witness to or victim the criminal acts charged. A violation of this mandatory protection order is punishable as a misdemeanor or felony charge. You are further notified that this court has set said complaint for first appearance advisement of rights on Friday, February 8th, 2019 at 8:30 a.m. That means it'll be, for me, it'll be 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in the Teller County Combined Court District. Okay, and it gives the location, the address. You are hereby notified to appear before this court. Failure to appear as scheduled may result in a warrant being issued by the court for your arrest. Okay, so she has to show up in court. Now, some more stuff. Before I even read any further, researched any further on anything, I said, oh, I know of course why they're doing this, right? And Frazee's mother must be freaking out, right? Because here's what happens. They say, these two are involved. And she was even thought to have some involvement, but hasn't so far. But, now she sees this one's going to sing like a canary, right? In order to get herself off the hook, she's going to give everything on him. We didn't see this in the Watts case. Think if Watts would not have confessed the way that Frazee has, that's non-guilty. Non-guilty. He's not confessing to anything. I told you he's a different bird than Watts, okay? he's not confessing to anything. So now they have the mistress. They're going to use that mistress. They've connected her with altering or, destroying or tampering with evidence. They could have also done that to NK, and I think had Chris not confessed, had he went and just done what Frazee's doing and said, not guilty, not guilty, not guilty, I think they would have charged her with obstruction of justice just to get the plea deal from her that she'll be granted, immunity if she tells all on him. So, in a sense, seeing this, we can see that she probably had that situation, would have been granted immunity for to testify against him. That's what I'm thinking. That's exactly what I think is going to go on here. And then I go on and I see that nurse in missing mom case of Kelsey Berreth is going to plead guilty on Friday to these charges. So Crystal Lee, 32, is scheduled to appear in the Colorado courtroom on Friday and to enter a plea with prosecutors, according to two of Lee's relatives who spoke anonymously, and this is from ABC News, okay? This is not from Radar Online. Who spoke anonymously because the deal hasn't been publicly announced. Family members said Lee has been cooperating with investigators. Sure, she has. She doesn't want to go to jail. She doesn't want to lose her freedom or her children and all that. Who have been looking into allegations. She may have disposed of evidence. She knows what he did. Okay? She knows what he did. And now here's the second part of it, okay? Lee's been employed as a nurse at St. Luke's Magic Valley Medical Center in Twin Falls, Idaho, but on Monday, we know she hasn't been employed there, that when this whole thing that she might even be involved, they let her go or put her on leave. And now they said that the hospital spokeswoman, Michelle Bartolome, told ABC News that an individual by that name no longer works at the hospital, but we knew she was on leave. I believe she was suspended, I don't know if it was unpaid or whatever, when this whole thing happened back, a month ago, when she was, being questioned. Now let's see, it says, in January they said she was on a leave of absence, so now she no longer works there, so they cut their ties with her. And Lee is facing one count of tampering with physical evidence, according to the district attorney's office. The charge is a Class 6 felony, punishable by up to 18 months in prison. So attempts to reach Lee's attorney are unsuccessful by ABC News, and let's see here. So she's expected to enter a plea of guilty, and in return, I'm sure that she said in another report, hold on a moment, she's going to say in other words, the only reason that she did anything like this is because she was in fear of her life, because he threatened her life. Okay? All right. And that's not what we heard from what she said to her best friend. She said that her boyfriend had asked her I forget what she said either. I don't know what she called him exactly to that friend that worked in that law office, but she said that had asked her to kill the girlfriend or the wife of the mother of his child, I think is how she explained that. And then when that friend that worked at this legal office had spoken to her bosses and they said, let us talk to her, when she went back, the friend, to this Crystal, then Crystal said, oh, no, it's nothing. She didn't say her life was being threatened or anything, but of course the life threatened, her life being threatened is going to come with why she did this, because she's not going to say she was a willing accomplice. She's not going to say she went along with this whole thing if she did. So she's going to try to get out of it gracefully, is what I think, and just say that, you know, she did this, but she was in fear of her life. You know, let's just say that he did threaten her, right? And she has to drive this 600 miles away from his ranch. Why not just go right to the police and tell them, look, he gave me this cell phone of this missing woman. He's threatening me. He wants me to do this thing. I know this is wrong to try to get rid of this. I'm upset about this woman being missing. I feel for her family. I need you to protect me from him. But here it is. Here's her phone. He knows. And not tell everything to the police. See, that's the whole thing. You're in fear of your life, so you're just going to... It wasn't that he had her, you know, under his thumb. She's in Idaho, okay? He's in Colorado. She's working at this hospital. He's not keeping her under lock and key in the basement, okay? She was able to tell her friend what she did. So that's why I don't buy any of this crap, okay? Not at all. I think she's just saying this now, in my feeling, to save her butt. And she's going to say whatever she has to do that. Because why would she not just go right away to the police in Idaho? Because she could apparently tell her friend, right? And then these people even wanted to talk to her. So if she was able to tell her friend, I'm sure she could have went into a police station and said, look, this guy's threatening my life, if that were true. I think he was involved in her disappearance, Kelsey's disappearance. I think he killed her. I think, you know, all of this stuff, and let them know. And I think the reason that she didn't, and this is my thinking, is because she knew what he was going to do and never alerted anybody to it. She could have even been in the planning part of it. I think that she was not threatened to take that cell phone. I think she willingly took that cell phone and got rid of it. And that's how I feel. I'm sorry. And we'll see what happens as this progresses along. And I think that she's going to be given, you know, that 18-month sentence for doing something like this is going to be pushed aside in order to get some damning evidence and testimony to convict Frazee of doing what he did. So we'll see what happens there. He's due back in court on the 19th. She's due back Friday, and I'll keep bringing this to you, and we'll follow this up as we go on here. And because of the delay in me coming on to record, because of the lovely turmoil over the Facebook group and all of that, my kids are home, and my husband is here making noise too. So, as you can hear. But I am not gonna go move again. I'm just too stressed right now. I want to finish the videos, so please excuse the craziness, and the dogs are even deciding to add to the craziness. Okay, so what I have next is an interview with the realtor, Ann Meadows. So Cassie Rosenberg, that was the close friend of Shanann that was going to be moving to the area, She was also using the same realtor that Shanann had, which was Ann Meadows. I have my tea now. And so it says here that Cassie Rosenberg, close friend of Shanann Watts, provided that Shanann and Chris had used Ann Meadows as a real estate agent to purchase their current home. It was learned that Chris Watts contacted Ann on 8/13 about selling his house. So Agent Galbraith contacted Ann Meadows by phone, and Ann told him that Shanann had left her a message on Facebook on 8/10 to tell her that she and Chris were thinking about moving. And Shanann informed her that Shanann told her that she would be out of town until Sunday night. But she wanted to get together with Ann to discuss things when she returned. Shanann asked for the best sites to look at for homes, and Ann told her to go to RE Colorado and sent Shanann a mobile app to begin her search. Anne then sent Shanann a follow-up message suggesting they get pre-approved for a loan to begin with. Shanann did not reply, and Anne expected that she would once she returned from her trip. So on Monday at 8:28 a.m., Anne received a 3-minute phone call from Chris Watts. Anne was surprised and actually taken aback when Chris called, because it was usually Shanann that Anne dealt with during their real estate transaction. Anne was their agent when they bought the house they were living in. She only talked to Chris maybe twice during that whole transaction. Chris asked Anne if Shanann had called her yet. And she told Chris that Shanann had sent her a message and suggested that they get approved for a loan. Now Chris told Anne that no one knew yet, but he and Shanann were getting divorced, and after not getting along for over a year. He just keeps repeating the same things. He's so used to saying it to the cops now. After not getting along for over a year. Make sure you say after not getting along for over a year, so they don't just think it's because of me. We know where that came from, right? We can surmise where that came from and why that is so important. Because say it's been over a year so that your mistress doesn't look like the catalyst for this, that you were already unhappy. She's not the reason you're getting a divorce. You're getting a divorce because you haven't been happy for over a year. Okay. And it wouldn't be so bad if he was getting a divorce, but he wasn't. He had killed his family. So he tells her this, gives her, more information than she needs. Anne is shocked, and she told Chris she's sorry. And he told Anne that not even his family knows. And we know that's a lie, right? Because Cindy was calling Mark so happy. That's Mark, is Chris's friend, the one she was gloating to. And these are facts. People say, these are facts. When Cindy says he had finally seen the light, she wasn't upset. She was thrilled. Okay? So don't argue with the facts here. The woman was thrilled. As the day progressed, Anne sent text messages to Chris and Shanann about the house. Shanann was usually vocal on issues, and Shanann was not weighing in on any of the group texts. Anne justified that perhaps the divorce situation had Shanann not participating in the topic of the text. Anne discussed comps in the neighborhood and updates to the home by text in an effort to estimate its value. Anne saw on Facebook that Shanann was missing and realized that Shanann had not weighed in at all when she was texting Chris. Anne reached out to Chris and stated that she realized Shanann was missing and asked if he was okay. And he assured Anne that he had reported to police and she could send prayers. That was nice of Chris to let her send prayers, wasn't it? Anne knew Chris and Shanann before they bought the house they live in. And they were both loving to each other and seemed really in love, she told the agent. Shanann was lovely, sweet, and ambitious, and Chris was quiet and a good father, she said. Anne knew nothing about the Watts' finances and believed that Shanann was successful with Thrive and that she worked very hard. The agent thanks Anne for her time, and Anne forwarded screenshots of communication between her and Chris, and her and Shanann, and her and Chris and Shanann. Okay, and then the screenshots are provided. And here it says, Facebook Messenger, Shanann reaches out to Anne to tell her that she and Chris would like to talk with her about selling the house. And she told Anne that she was out of town until late Sunday. Anne asked Shanann where they wanted to move, and Shanann told her that Chris had been talking about Brighton or Fort Lupton, stating they cannot move too far south due to his job, Chris's job. Shanann said they had just talked about it last night. She then said that she thought about it on and off, but the construction behind them was holding them back. They now have a lot of it done, before Shanann paints the baby's room and more. She wanted to see where they are and their options. Okay, so Shanann said before she paints the baby's room and more, she wants to see where they are where they are at and their options, okay, before she starts decorating the baby's Nico's nursery, right? Anne suggested Brighton and Erie, and Shanann said they do not want to downsize for the same price they're paying, though. Of course, who would want to do that, right? That wouldn't make a lot of sense. So I guess she's trying to make sure that Anne's not moving her into a higher priced area where they will have to pay what they are now for a smaller house. She'd rather move to an area where they can pay, less money, because that's the whole thing of downsizing. If they're not going to reap any financial reward from it, why do it? That's not the only reason they're doing it, is because of their finances. On Friday at 10:25 a.m., Shanann asked Anne, what about Realtor.com and Zillow? Are they good places, to look? And Anne suggested that recolorado.com is the best place to look, and she would send her the link to the phone app. On Saturday, Anne messaged to suggest to Shanann to talk to one of Anne's lenders. So one of the companies that she works with, she told Shanann, she messaged her, please talk with them about getting pre-approved, for a home loan. So Shanann's message to Anne says, hey love, how are you doing? Chris and I would like to talk to you about possibly selling the house. I'm out of town till late Sunday. And then Anne says, all right, where do you want to move? Shanann says, he's talking Brighton, possibly Fort Lupton. We can't move too far south because of his job. Thinking that area. We just talked about it last night. And then the realtor said, you move fast. She said, we have thought about it off and on, but the construction behind us was holding us back. They have a lot of it done. Is that a smiley face? I don't know what, that's like, I don't know, some kind of face with a tongue hanging out. So what is that like? I don't know what that is. Kind of looks like the one that vomits, but it's not vomits, his tongue is hanging out, the emoticon. But before I paint baby's room and more, I think it's better to see where we are at and options. Okay? Then Anne says, my suggestion would be not to move too far out. The further you go, the more vulnerable your money is. Brighton might be the best, I think she means of the best of both worlds, but she put if both worlds. So then Shanann says, so Brighton is good. We don't want to downsize for the same price we're paying though. She said, I think it might be a better option than Fort Lupton, keeping in mind that when the market turns, the outer lying areas get hit first. Brighton might be your best bet. Okay, and then Shanann says, okay, sounds good. And then, thank you, anytime. I was thinking maybe we should have you talk to one of the lenders. What do you think? Okay, so the text between Anne and Chris are Monday at 12:27. Anne texted Chris to tell him she was working on the market analysis and asked about upgrades on the house. And Chris replied that the basement is still unfinished and there are no upgrades. Anne asked about a comparable model in the neighborhood, and Chris agreed to drive by when he gets home. And that's the house that he stopped at for like 4 minutes on the way home, where he could have easily dumped things or just dropped things off. He knew he was going home. He knew the police were there at the house. The realtor gave him the address of this house to stop by. If it was an empty house, and nobody was there, who knows what he could have stuck somewhere, who knows what he could have stashed somewhere over there, right? And then went back to get it another time, or just had someone else get it at another time, who knows? But I think they have his GPS as stopping 4 minutes at this address. So, which I thought was like really strange, because if your family's truly missing and a realtor has asked you to stop by a house on your way home from work, first of all, you're probably not even going to remember that, right? Because you're going to be like, my family's missing. That's the only thing that's going to be occupying your mind, getting home, finding out what's going on. But, even if you did remember it and you're driving home, you're like, oh, the realtor said this, My family's missing. Forget that. The house has no importance if I have no family, right? I've got to get to my family. But, of course, Chris stops at the house. So he says to her that he'll stop by on the way home from work, and the Ann told him that it's under contract and she will call the realtor to see what it's sold for to get a number. Okay, so the house was probably vacant. And then Ann says, I guess after she saw that Shanann was missing, or her, I don't know if he told her at 12:27 or because she said she saw it on Facebook, she said, is Shanann okay? She hasn't weighed in all day. And Chris said she hasn't been around all day. It's very odd. And then Ann replied that it is really weird and asked if he was worried. I guess because he didn't sound like it in the text, right? And she asked if Chris had checked in with Shanann's friends or called to report her missing. Chris told Ann that he has done it all and the police are handling it now. At 5:47, Chris thanked Ann. She asked if he drove by the comparable house, and he said that he just did. And that's the exact model. Good, Chris. Ann was waiting to hear back from the agent, and then they could set a time to meet. You'll have to meet with him in front of the glass window, Ann. The house is being sold at auction in 2 months, in April. It's being sold at auction. It'll be interesting to know what it goes for in comparison of what the market value is, because, you know, there are some that, there's two schools of thought. Like people, like a lot of people, I shouldn't say most people, percentage of people would run from it, right? They wouldn't want any of that negative energy. You have 3 people that were killed in that house. You have all of this sorrow, everything involved with that. And there's others that would capitalize on that. Like that Amityville horror house that's out in New York. You know, there's been many families that have come and gone through there. There's been families that have said, you know, they've heard things, or others that have done renovations and opened it up. I was also looking at that Peterson house, that very historic and stately house. That actually was used as a set for the first Handmaid's Tale, the movie, not this series that's on Hulu, but no, but it was used. They did several shoots on there for that movie, for the original Handmaid's Tale movie, and then it was sold. It wasn't even sold for that much, considering the property. It was sold for under $700,000. I think it was $695,000, and it's 4 acres, and there's the pool and the grounds and all of that. So those, I think it was a couple that bought it. They renovated it, and then they sold it for over $1 million. I forget, it might even have been like 1.3. And now I don't know if that, I think that's the current owner, and the current owner, I believe, is a psychic. Is that what it is? I think it's a psychic, and has some kind of a business that I don't know if the website incorporates that home or for whatever reason, but yes, that has that home now. Okay, so you never know. I mean, what's going to happen with that house? I think the market value of it is what, about $400,000, maybe a little more now. I think they paid close to $400,000, so I don't know much about the market in Colorado, but I think it's a seller's market, right? So that the homes are in demand, but they have all those homes behind them going up too, and if they are the same type, a lot of people are going to want to move into new construction, and then of course not have all of those negative connotations, but there will be others thinking maybe that, I don't know, that the sensationalism of the case might prove to be lucrative in some way to them. I mean, there's all kinds of crazy things like tours or making video, whatever about that. So we don't know what's going to happen. So it'll be interesting to see. What are your thoughts on that house? Do you think people would be interested in it for maybe a lucrative kind of a because the case was so sensational, maybe people are looking for that? Or do you think it's going to go for much less than things in the area because of the negative vibe in it? And how true is it what he said that we saw about the oil well thing that someone had said, right? But that might not be true at all. We don't know. He lies so much, and I haven't seen it yet, other than, who was it? Somebody at the school had said, Shanann had said something about that, but I haven't seen any more of that, about that oil something well coming across the way. And I don't know if it would be Cassie Rosenberg who's moving into the area. I'm sure she would know if it's true or not. And she's moving, and obviously she doesn't want that house. So anyway, we'll see what happens with that. So let's see. So now, just in their text, it's, hi, working on your market analysis. I would like to bring my listing coordinator with me when I bring it. Did you finish the basement? Any other upgrades? Thanks, bye. Basement is still unfinished. No other upgrades, Chris says. And then she says, there's a house in your neighborhood, 6508 Saratoga Trail. It looks like the same model. Do you agree? Confirming 3-car garage. So Chris says, yes, 3-car garage. I will drive by 6508 when I get home. Thanks, Chris. Not a lot of comps. I have a call into that realtor to see what it sold for. It's under contract, so that will give us a number. And then over here, he says, you're welcome. She says, is Shanann okay? She hasn't weighed in all day. And he said she hasn't been around all day. It's very odd. It's very odd. So Anne says, that's really weird. You must be worried. No, not so much, Anne. Have you checked with her friends or called and reported her missing? This is Chris says, I've done it all. Police are handling it now. Send prayers, please. Yeah, he's probably, send those prayers for me that I don't get caught. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Lots of prayers. And then he says, thank you so much, Anne. And she says, did you drive by the 6508? And he says, just did. He must have been texting this probably while the cops are in the house, and he's so into his phone between NK and whatever else he's feeling. Just did. Yep. That's the exact model. All right. I'm waiting to hear back and from that agent, and then we can set up a time to meet. Thanks for checking up on that. And he says, you're welcome, exclamation point. Nothing more about his wife. Not that he's really worried. I still haven't heard from her. Nothing. Now we're going to look at an interview with Robert Merry. Robert Merry was identified as an Anadarko employee who worked with and knew Chris Watts. So this is Agent Galbraith again, interviewed Robert Merry by phone on 8/23 at 10:53. Robert met Chris Watts roughly 2 years ago through work at Anadarko. Chris was Robert's team rover. Chris also did computer work in the office in the absence of the IOC staff that worked on computers. Robert does not know what IOC stands for. Chris would look at the computer and then have someone go check out a well if perhaps the production was down. Chris worked mostly in the field. He was always a rover and worked as an extra hand to employees such as Robert, who had an assigned route. As a rover, Chris was not dedicated to a certain route. He would talk with the work group to see what help was needed and then would work there. Chris was a field operator and would cover routes as relief to those that were off work or could not cover their own routes. Robert considered Chris a friend at work. They did not socialize outside of work. Sports was a big thing to Chris, and he is a Carolina Panther fan. Robert would talk about football with Chris. Chris did not really talk about anything personal at work. If Chris was gone from work, and you wonder why I don't record down here. Chris did not really talk about anything personal at work. If Chris was gone from work, Robert and others would know that his kids were having a health issue, because that was really all Robert knew of Chris's family. Robert last saw Chris at work on 8/10. Chris acted as he usually does. Robert has since watched interviews Chris gave to the media prior to his arrest, and Robert felt his demeanor and body movements, seemed to fit the Chris that Robert knew. He didn't find anything off. His demeanor, nothing out of the ordinary to Robert. Robert saw Chris every day at work in the mornings. The employees were assigned routes, and they would then leave the office and go work on their routes. And Chris would get a task assigned or go back to work on something he was already working on. Robert saw no indications that Chris had any family problems. He never met Shanann or their children. He only spoke to Shanann once on the phone, where she gave him a spiel about Thrive. Robert has seen stories about how Chris had a happy family, and Robert would have guessed that Chris lived a normal, happy family life. Then Berreth asked about Chris's ability to complete tasks and work, and Robert said there were no indications that Chris was not of sound mind at work. Chris was very thorough and checked boxes to make sure he had what he needed to get a job done. Chris was a mechanic prior to working for Anadarko. Robert said that Chris did his job very well. Robert said that he's trying to remember Chris is the guy that he worked with after this case. He was hesitant to provide his mailing address for fears of being bombarded with contact efforts to gain information. I assured him that his address would be in the law enforcement official report only, which would be provided to the Frederick PD and the DA's office, but not released to the media by the CBI. I told him that in the event he would be needed to testify as a witness, he would be contacted in the future. He did provide his address. I thanked Robert for his time. And I like how they told him that it wouldn't be released to the public, and it's right here. It's right here, released to the public, his address. And it's not even a P.O. box. It's his street address. So now let's look at the interview with Joshua Rosenberg. Now he is Cassie Rosenberg's husband, okay? And he knew Chris. So Agent Berreth, again, is interviewing Joshua Rosenberg by phone. This is on 8/24 at 8:47 a.m. Josh is married to Cassandra Cassie Rosenberg, who was previously interviewed by phone by the same agent on 8:15. Cassie works at Lavelle with Thrive, as did Shanann, and that's how the Rosenbergs know the Watts. Josh met Chris in person for the first time in Las Vegas just in February of 2018. So very new friendship. Shanann, Cassie, Chris, and Josh had all communicated with each other prior to that trip to Vegas, when Josh met Chris in person for the first time, and they hit it off and they started talking immediately. They shared similarities and had things in common. They developed a typical guy friendship. Cassie, Josh, and their children stayed at the Watts' house at the end of May 2018 as they were considering moving to Colorado and looking for houses and getting to know the area. The four then went on a trip to San Diego in June of 2018 for Thrive. So even though it was relatively new, they've spent a considerable amount of time together in that short period. Josh described the relationship between Chris and Shanann as cohesive, normal, and stated they both showed affection for one another. Any moments of disagreement were normal and insignificant, and they had the type of relationship most people want. They were open and honest in their relationship. No relationship problems were ever mentioned by Chris to Josh. Chris recently started working out more and eating healthier. Remember, he was doing that clean eating. He was a member of the Clean Eaters Club. Chris told Josh that Shanann talked to him about his changed eating habits, and Josh assured Chris that Cassie talked to him about that when he changed his diet too. He thought that it was within the last month that Chris had started changing his diet. He was eating less carbs and eating cleaner. Right, he was a clean eater. He's a member of the Clean Eaters Club. Josh estimated that maybe around May 2018, Chris started working out and running more. He and Chris would trade running times to encourage each other. Josh noticed in San Diego in June that Chris was working out harder, and there were changes in Chris's physique from it. Josh did not know about any supplements that Chris took, but knew that he used Thrive and said, "We all do." Josh does not know about the finances of Chris and Shanann, and Josh never asked Chris, and Chris never divulged anything about his finances. Josh thought it felt like they were a normal family on a normal budget. I asked what Josh knew about Chris's job, and he said that Chris worked in the oil field. He monitored and inspected systems pertaining to the oil fields. He believed Chris worked out in the field and did not get the impression that he was in an office. Chris had a work truck that he drove from location to location. Chris did not mention having friends at work. Did he mention having a mistress at work? No? Okay. Josh last talked to Chris by phone on 8/13, and Chris called Josh and told him that he did not know what to do about Shanann and the kids being missing. He told Josh he was lost. Josh encouraged that all anyone could do was make calls and try to figure out what happened. Chris said he felt very uneasy. Josh told Chris, "You know how this looks," alluding to the belief that something had gone wrong involving them. Chris acknowledged that and told Josh that he didn't know what to do. Well, he doesn't know what to do a lot of the time, right? He didn't know what to do. He said he felt like everyone was mad at him, and he didn't know who to call. I feel like everyone's mad at me, Josh. I don't know who to call. Chris said he did not know how anyone could think he could do it. I don't know how anyone could think I could do this. How could anyone think I did this? I don't know. Josh told Chris that he needed to do everything he could. Listen, man, you need to do everything you can here. It doesn't look like you're showing any emotion, and it doesn't show you're making any effort to try to find your family. The phone call from Chris felt different to Josh than a call from the Chris he knew. Josh felt it was like Chris was looking for information, which was not like him. And it didn't feel like Chris, and it didn't seem like Chris wanted Josh to do anything for him, but more like Chris was trying to find out how Cassie and the rest of Shanann's friends felt. Chris did not seem genuine to Josh. Oh, you're a good judge, Josh. Chris told Josh that he just talked to Nicole Atkinson, and she said that Shanann had gone to a friend's house. He said that he saw Nicole on the doorbell camera at his house. So this is before he even got home. Josh texted Chris. He texted Chris on 8/14, "Hey, any updates?" And Chris replied that the police were getting the missing persons report ready. Josh knew from Cassie and Shanann that there were changes in Chris over the last 4 to 5 weeks. When Chris was in North Carolina with Shanann and the kids, Shanann had said he was cold and inattentive. He did not show love, and it was not the Chris they knew. I asked about Josh knowing of discussion about separation and divorce between Chris and Shanann, and he said that Cassie often FaceTimed him while at the conference, and he often saw the group of girls and chatted with them. And on Saturday night on 8/11, Shanann learned of a charge that she was concerned about, given that Chris was supposedly at a Rockies game with friends from work, and Shanann was visibly upset, crying when discussing this in Arizona. Shanann said she didn't understand what had changed, and she said that she loved Chris and did not know why he did not love her. Shanann said that Chris wanted to separate and move on, saying he could not do it anymore. The group, including Josh, talked about the way Shanann expressed that she wanted to be strong for her kids and show them what you can get out of life, and was very positive about it. Shanann wanted to at least try counseling for her kids' sake, even if it did not work out between her and Chris. Josh said that he immediately knew something had gone wrong with Shanann and the girls due to the state of the house and his knowledge of Shanann. He knew that there was zero chance that Shanann would have left the house like it was and without her phone or medication for the kids. And Josh was aware of an argument in North Carolina that Shanann had with Chris's parents about a child's allergy. He is certain that she would have never left the house without those meds. He said that those kids were Shanann's everything, and she would never have let anything happen to them or jeopardize their well-being in any way. The agent asks Josh if he has seen anything about Chris's statement to law enforcement, and Josh heard that Chris claimed Shanann killed the kids. Josh told me that the Chris he knew would not have done any of this to begin with. The eyes Josh sees on Chris on TV are not the same. They lack sincerity and soul. Yes, they do. Josh thinks that someone gave this scenario to Chris as his only shot to possibly avoid the death penalty. Josh suggested Chris is trying to figure out this lie that he has created. Josh said there's no way that that statement is accurate, that Shanann killed the kids. No way. And if he had told Shanann he wanted a divorce and was cheating on her, Josh insisted Shanann would never have done anything to her kids. She would choose her kids over Chris 100 times out of 100 if she would have to. Josh thinks Chris is saying this in an effort to figure out how to cope with what he did. I asked Josh if there was any indication that Chris might have been cheating on Shanann, and Josh said that he does not believe that Chris would have had an affair on Shanann. He believes that anyone can change their mind on things at any point, and such is simply human nature. He thinks that Chris possibly changed his mind and decided against a relationship with Shanann, but would have told Shanann before seeking out another woman. Josh still feels this way about Chris. Oh, you're wrong on that, Josh. Josh told me he feels like there are two Chris's, the Chris he knew and the Chris he now sees in the media. So does Agent Coder, Special Agent Coder feels that way, two Chris's. I asked Josh if he thinks there is anyone else who could have done this. And Josh said there is no one else that could have done this in his opinion. Josh shared a scenario of what he thinks might have happened. Okay, so let's listen to Josh's scenario here, okay? He says, here's his scenario, okay? Shanann comes home from the trip to Arizona. Shanann and Chris talk. Chris told her, I'm done. And Shanann gets emotional and cries. Chris tries to leave. Shanann tries to stop him. An accident happens. It spiraled out of control. There was a commotion that woke the kids. Chris was someone else at this point. Chris had to eliminate the kids as they were witnesses. Josh said this is the only logical scenario, as there was no possible way Shanann could have laid a hand on the kids. Shanann lived and worked to make her family's life better as a whole. Shanann had said that if he wants to leave, that was fine. She didn't want to give up and would try counseling. It was not logical for Josh to believe that Shanann could have done anything to hurt those kids, as Chris stated. I've discussed this many times before, and he's saying Chris is out of his mind at this point, but any parent that kills their spouse in the heat of the moment, but then a child sees this, you're not going to think, okay, now I have to kill all my kids because they're going to be witnesses. Like I said, because then, okay, you have this bloodbath, you've killed, 5, 6 kids because they're all going to be witnesses because you can't, the logic and the reasoning that I've heard behind this stuff, especially in those speculation groups, is the rest of the kids become collateral damage once one sees you. So you have to kill them all. And it's just ludicrous because, okay, then you kill all of those kids. And then what kind of life are you going to have even if you got away with it? Would you even want to live that kind of life? And a lot of times if they are a sociopath or a psychopath, then yeah, maybe they're going to want to go with that mistress. But people of normal mind that say, let's say something got out of control and you're arguing around steps and whatever, and your spouse falls down and is killed, it's not going to go around and kill their kids even if they saw it. They're going to just take responsibility for that and let their kids live their lives if they truly love their kids, right? It's so ludicrous that, especially in these speculation groups, they're like, oh, well, one saw, so you had to kill that one, and then Cece was collateral damage. Every time I hear that, I cringe. I cringe because how they could even surmise this and yet still idolize Chris. How they idolize him in any way is beyond me. But some of their explanations are like that, okay? That he had to kill Cece as collateral damage after Bella saw him killing Shanann, and he had to kill Bella. And then, of course, he just didn't know what to do, so then he put everybody in the oil tanks. Whatever way they try to explain this, he's a monster in every way, and yet they're gushing over this guy. That's what I just can't understand. You know, instead of just washing their hands of it, saying this is hard, they're gushing over it and trying like to rescue his reputation, and it's crazy. But anyway, this is Josh's scenario, maybe how they did it. I asked Josh if he had considered that Chris planned anything like this, and Josh said that Chris is a very smart guy, and if he planned it out, he would not have gotten caught. Well, Josh, you think Chris is a very smart guy? I asked if it was possible that Chris had not considered that Shanann's friends would have been actively looking for her Monday morning, and Josh felt that Chris would have planned for that had he considered or thought about or planned for more than 2 hours before he did it. Josh feels Chris did not plan it, and that it was in the heat of the moment. Chris knew his truck had GPS in it, and he told Josh about it, and he didn't use it for personal things. Chris knew that Shanann was attached to her phone, and that's the type of thing, and she's the type that responds to texts immediately. I asked about Josh's knowledge of Chris's mental health, and Josh had no concerns. He did not know Chris to see counselors or take medications for mental health matters, and Josh described Chris as pretty calm and level-headed. He's not the type to get angry or upset, and he was frustrated by normal things such as the gym being too crowded, as it was in San Diego, but it was nothing out of the ordinary to Josh. I asked about the trip to Colorado in May, in which Josh and his family stayed with the Wattses. They arrived on a Monday morning, and Chris was already at work, and they hung out with Shanann and the kids. Chris got home about 3 to 4 o'clock. He parked along the street, and the truck stayed there. His work truck is a pickup. Maroon or brown in color, Josh says. There was stuff in the back. Chris never parked the truck in the driveway when Josh was there. Josh did not see Chris come from or go from the truck for work or over the weekend. Josh was inside each time. I asked about Shanann's mental health, and Josh described her as being a normal woman emotionally. She was loving, good, kind, transparent, a giver, a great host, passionate, even-keeled, extraordinary. She loved to make people happy. She would not get mad. She tried to work problems out. She never over-exaggerated. No drama. Josh thought Shanann took medication for lupus and fibromyalgia. Josh knew that Shanann had been in a bad relationship with an ex-husband in the past. Things stuck with her and shaped her into being the loving person she was. Josh wanted to reiterate that those close to Chris and Shanann, and as he and Cassie were, and knew who Chris and Shanann were, knew that Shanann would not have left her things at the house. And she would not put a hand on her kids even in her worst moment. She was kind, loving, open, and even going through the pain of starting over without Chris, she was still focused on being a better example for her kids. He does not know how anyone could see otherwise. You know, nobody does. Well, some do in the speculation group, in the family. Josh believes that Chris killed the kids too. He thinks something went wrong and it spiraled out of control, and he's now lying because he can't deal with what he did. Cassie came to the phone to provide that she and Josh are moving to Colorado next week and provided their new address. Okay, so they already had their house. Cassie also wanted to make sure investigators knew that there was an Amazon Alexa in the Watts house that may have recorded something to aid in the investigation. I assured her that this was known and thanked her and encouraged her to reach out with other things and other information as it comes to her. The interview concluded, and Josh forwarded screenshots of the text with Chris. So here's their text. On 5/29, Josh texts Chris that an application was it. He then congratulated Chris for something, and Chris replied, "Thanks, man." He said he has to make sure she does not do too much or lift anything. So that's probably about the pregnancy, right? And then they discussed the application process and how long it takes. I'm sure for Josh to get a job out there in something, and I don't know if it was at Anadarko, probably. Now, on 6/17, which is Father's Day, Chris wishes Josh a happy Father's Day, and Josh replies the same. On 6/22 to 6/23, it appears that Josh and Chris are in a hotel. This is when they're in San Diego with Shanann and Cassie, and they're chatting about planning and getting food. So on 6/23, Chris says that Shanann will divorce him if he gets food without her, and he will end up homeless. He will end up like the homeless guy yelling at himself on the street. 6/24, they joke about the weather and the heat. 7/6, they joke about Josh applying for a job. 7/6, Josh asked Chris how the bachelor life was going. Chris replied in 1 minute that he was working out a lot, picking up weekend shifts, and he said it was going by fast so far. And here's the actual text. How's the bachelor life going? And Chris says, working out a lot. Picking up the weekend shifts. Yeah, sure you are. Going by fast so far. And then Josh says, awesome. On 7/6, Josh asks if it feels weird to be in the house alone. Well, he really wouldn't know too much, Josh. Chris replies that he was trying to eat a little cleaner with no kids around. He said, it's a little weird, but I've been keeping busy. Yeah, you've been keeping busy there, Chris. Oh, Josh says, hell yeah, the Beachbody thing is nuts. I'm picking up extra work as well. I put in a few more applications. And he's asking him, does it feel weird being in the house alone? And Chris says, I bet the Beachbody workouts are crazy. I've been trying to eat a little cleaner with no kids around. It's a little weird, but I've been keeping busy. On 8/8, which is their first day back, Josh asked Chris if he was excited about the ultrasound. Chris replied that today was the day and that he was excited. Chris said he was secretly hoping it was a boy. Chris replied, oh, hold on a minute. Chris replied that today was the day, 7 p.m., and that he was excited. And then Josh said he was secretly hoping it is a boy, and Chris replied, LOL, yeah, me too. And then on 8/8, at 11:44, Chris texted about eating cleaner. And Shanann giving him the 3rd degree for refusing to eat a few things. He said he can see his abs again. And is working hard to get cut. You might get cut in prison. Might get your wish. He said that combining Thrive and eating lean meats is really making the difference. Chris texted that he had come to realize that abs are made in the kitchen. 8/8, Josh texts about waiting patiently. Chris tells him that the envelope is sealed until next weekend, so Josh is waiting patiently to find out what they're having. Chris says, well, the envelope's sealed until next weekend. Josh asks if they're going to do a reveal, and Chris replies, yes, sir. 6:51, Josh texted to congratulate Chris. Congrats, buddy, little man is a lucky boy. Chris replies, thanks, man. Okay, and then we have 8/11. Josh texts Chris asking if he's still awake. And Chris immediately replies that he's headed home from a Rockies game. Yeah, Rockies game. Josh asks him to let him know when he's not driving because he has a question. Now on 8:12, Chris replied, "What's up, bro? Sorry, I passed out once I got home." Josh replied to make sure Chris was okay with his family being at his house if need be, and Chris replied that that's cool. Chris asked when Josh thought his family would be moving to Colorado for a job, and Josh took with true value. Josh estimated about 1 month, and Chris texted that the Rockies game was crazy and gave him scoring information. Josh said that he saw that on ESPN and had only been to 2 moments like that. Chris replied, "It was epic." Everything's epic to Chris, right? On 8:13, at 11:16 Arizona time, Josh texted to ask if Chris had heard from Shanann today because Cassie and Nikki could not get a hold of her, and Chris replied that he had just talked to Nikki. Chris texted that Shanann went to a friend's house with the kids and he has not heard from her since, but we'll keep them updated. On 8:14, Josh texted for any word and asked Chris how he was doing, and Chris replied that there's no word at all. And cops were getting the missing persons report ready, and Chris said he was at home, sick to his stomach. Yeah, I'm sure he was sick to his stomach. Next day he wouldn't be at home, he'd be in the slammer. Agent Galbraith subsequently reviewed the content. This is the content. It says, "I was asked to assist by speaking with Charlotte Nelson. Nelson is a friend of NK, and the two exchanged messages about the relationship between herself and Watts. I was provided with a package of text messages, which I was advised were that of Shanann Watts." Okay, Shanann Watts, that's wrong. I think they mean NK. There's a lot of typos in here. Action taken. Agent Galbraith subsequently reviewed the content. The records were somewhat confusing, as some of the correspondence is clearly with a 720 blah 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 number, but at other times it's coming with burner phone. It's probably the burner phone, right? It's this other number beginning with this 9000, 8000, 4104. However, the content appeared to indicate that the person is the same as the one communicating with the 720 number based upon the conversation. So we know they had a burner phone because that number doesn't make any sense. It's some kind of incognito number, right? I don't know what the deal is there. That's something whacked. Okay. So the texting is on 8:12. I'm not certain of the time zone in which the records are formatted, it says, but some of the content is undecipherable. Based upon the numbers, it's difficult to say for sure if the texts are from Nikki or from Charlotte, but the content lends itself to know who the author was. So let's see here. NK says, been kind of hanging out with a guy recently, keeping it a secret. This is on 8:12, okay? Dude loves to eat, you know what? Never met a man who does until now. I just let it happen, LOL. Charlotte answers with, where did you meet this man? NK's still talking about the other thing. She's not going to respond to this right now. She's going to still go back on that because she wants to talk about that little thing. She says, I don't know, man. Sean never did that to me one time. I'm keeping this G-rated, okay? That's not really what she says. You can go back and read the stuff. So remember, I have kids that could be around, so yeah, you're going to get the G-rated version. So now Charlotte says, I don't think it's you, man. I don't think it's you, man. I don't think you're that dirty. I don't think it's you. I mean, I don't know for sure. It could be you, but I don't think it's you. I don't think it's you, man. Some guys are lame with that stuff. NK says, Feels like every dude I meet has kids these days. And if they don't, they have commitment issues or some BS like Sean. Don't you wonder what Sean's BS were? Don't you wonder what Sean's BS was? Because it wasn't kids and it's not commitment issues. It's something else. Some BS like Sean. Maybe he didn't like Jim coming to the house. Who knows? So then Charlotte says, what's the dude's name? Kids are cute. It's a package deal though. And then NK says, the fact he takes care of his kids is a good thing, I think. And then she says, he's all about his kids. And Charlotte says, that's cool. How old are they? How old is he? Charlotte asks. 33, I think. NK says, I just feel like I will always be second place. I'm not going to be his first. Like he's been there, done that. It's early though, we will see. He's very kind to me though. And he works out, so he's super sexy. Then let me see, NK says, don't tell nobody. I haven't made my mind up on him yet. She goes on to say, he seems too good to be true. Ha ha, yeah, it's the best sex I've ever had. I'm hooked. Then she says, I think he really likes me. So now the agent says, I received a call from Charlotte Nelson. I had left Nelson a message on September 5th and texted her on September 6th prior to her call to me. Nelson met NK in high school. They were not as close as they are now. NK is Nelson's best friend. They text a lot, but they don't see each other a lot, maybe once every month or two. Nelson knew why I would be contacting her. I asked how this case is sitting with her. How's this case sitting with you? Nelson said that NK got caught up with the wrong person at the wrong time, and it's just devastating. Yeah, she got caught up with the wrong person at the wrong time, and it's just devastating. I asked if Nelson knew that NK had been dating Chris Watts, and Nelson explained that NK was working as a contractor for Anadarko. NK had told Nelson that she was seeing a guy at work at some point. Well, it certainly wasn't here. NK did not say a word about who, and Nelson never met him. Nelson saw news about this case and heard about that guy that worked at Anadarko, and Nelson wondered if NK knew that guy. NK then called Nelson and let her know that the media may try to contact her with the case. Remember that whole thing when she was contacting everybody? I'm safe, I'm not in any trouble, I didn't break any laws. You don't have, remember that whole spiel? Yeah. NK then called Nelson and let her know that the media may try to contact her about the case. And Nelson said that NK said she could not discuss much about the case with her. Nelson told the agent that her father died a couple of weeks ago, and she has been drinking a lot to deal with things, right? And she has been drinking a lot to deal with things right now. That doesn't sound too healthy, Charlotte. Nelson said that she looked back and NK had sent her a photo of NK and the guy she was seeing. Nelson agreed to go back through her messages and screenshot the communication she had with NK. NK had told Nelson that the guy she was seeing had a couple of kids. Nelson knew NK to like kids, and she seemed in favor of it. Really? Nelson said she didn't say much. She lets people live their lives. Nelson did not think it was smart of NK to date someone she worked with, since she liked her job there, you know? If you don't like your job there, it's okay. I mean, you can date him, but it's not so smart when you like your job there. But she didn't tell NK that. She lets people live their lives, remember? I asked if NK spoke of the guy's marital status to Nelson, and NK did not at the time, but NK has told her since. And Nelson said that the guy had told NK that he was separated from his wife. NK did not provide Nelson with any details of the relationship as to where they went, or where they spent time together, how they spent their time, or if they were intimate. Really? Really, Charlotte? You're lying there, honey. Why are you lying? She just told you what he does that no other guy has done. That's pretty intimate, unless you don't consider that intimate. She said that she did not know and she did not ask. And she said that NK just got out of a relationship, and Nelson just lets her tell her what she wants to and share. Nelson described NK as private. That doesn't make a lot of sense. If she's so private, well, how's she telling you this and sharing? You sound like you're a little more, I don't know. That sounds crazy. I told Nelson that I had some content. Yeah, here. We got you in a lie, honey, because this seems pretty intimate. I told Nelson that I have some content from text messaging between her and NK, and I read the one about it being the best sex ever, that the best sex NK has ever had, and the one about NK's little new kitty cat, right? You get my drift, right? There, yeah, I've got kids in the other room. So, okay. Nelson reminded me that her dad died and she's been drinking heavily. Oh, gee. Oh, that's right. Yeah, I've been drinking heavily. Blacking out. I can't remember. I didn't remember that. I forgot. I totally forgot that. Been drinking heavily. That's my daughter calling about that Facebook crap. Okay, she was taken out of the group too, and probably sees my post on there, and she just got out of work. Okay, so all right, so then where were we? So Nelson reminded me that her dad died and she had been drinking heavily, and she told me she actually barely remembers the text. I don't remember. Nothing stood out for me. She's my best friend, and I don't remember a thing. I read the following text to Nelson, and she read the one that says, feel like every dude I meet has kids these days, and if they don't, they have commitment issues or some other BS like Sean. I asked Nelson for some context to that text, since it seemed like a man with kids may be a negative thing based upon the words in that text alone. You think? Nelson said that she does not think that NK was against them having kids. And NK wants kids too. Yes, she does. But she wants them to be firsts, not seconds. She has just had bad luck with men in her past. Really? NK wants to find someone, and when she does, it turns out the guy is lying or something. NK seems to take it upon herself, and, she feels like she's picking the wrong guys. Who's she going to put it on, Nelson? She's going to blame it on someone else? Nelson encourages NK that she will find somebody. You'll find someone. Nelson did not think that NK actually met the guy's kids. She has no idea when or where NK and the guy hung out together. Nelson figured that if it was working out, she would hear more about the guy from NK. NK did not tell Nelson anything about the guy's wife in their text. I asked how NK is doing, and Nelson told me that she's a mess. Says she can't say much about the case. And Nelson thinks NK feels partially responsible, as maybe he went crazy because NK came into the picture. NK liked that guy. Nelson thinks NK needs a good therapist. Yeah. I asked if there is any indication that NK may want to maintain a relationship with the guy, and Nelson said that NK wants to cooperate in the fullest to make sure he stays in jail. See, this agent's asking, does NK want to continue a relationship because NK's actions don't match those of someone that is disgusted or is scared or is freaked out to find out any of this. Do you see that? So they're saying it sounds like she wants to continue this. She's not so upset. That's what it seems to me. I thanked Nelson for her time, and she agreed to send me screenshots of her text with NK, and Nelson promptly got back with me on 9/6. And she left this voicemail. Hi, Agent Berreth, this is Charlotte Nelson. I'm looking through my phone, and the latest text messages I have from NK start on August 21st. Oh, really? It's after. How convenient. They started August 21st? Oh, that's convenient now, isn't it? It's like the church lady. Isn't that special then? It's just, oh, isn't that special? Really? They start on the 21st? Isn't that a coincidence? Okay. So, yeah, she says they start on the 21st. And we're mostly talking about my dad passing away and my family issues, and also that she's concerned with the media. I probably deleted the whole conversation when NK asked me to delete pictures we had together on Facebook because the media was calling her friends to get information, you know. It just slipped my mind the last time I was there. It's nothing like that I went back in and there were like incriminating texts or anything that I deleted. No, absolutely, it is not that. That's not what happened. It is just simply that I was drinking so much, I probably just totally blacked it out, that I have already deleted the messages when I told you I'd get to them. And now, just leaving you this voice message that I can't believe it, but it's what must have happened. I must have deleted those messages when she told me to get rid of everything, scrub it clean, but then I conveniently forgot when we talked, but that's what it is. Yeah, it's just, I just wanted to just get it. It's not, nothing was incriminating. That is not at all why I did it. Okay, Charlotte. So let's see. I know about the text messages we talked about because yesterday evening I got your voicemail, and when NK came over later that night, I told her that you had called, and I wanted to verify that it was actually the CBI calling me and not a scammer trying to get information. Those scammers, they're trying to get information on these texts, yeah. I asked her why you would be calling, and she said it could be because of the text we exchanged, and then she showed me. I'm sorry, I don't have any messages before that. I'm so sorry. Would you still like me to send you everything starting on August 21st? Also, I left you a voicemail regarding a question I have. My question is, if the text messages you have are going to be made public matter. I shared very personal information about mine and my boyfriend's intimate life, and I'm concerned about what will be released. Please let me know or call me for any more questions. Yeah, but I didn't remember sharing anything about that because I was drinking heavily. Then the agent responded, stand by on text from the 21st. Let me consult with my partner. Thank you for getting back to me on this matter. On 9/7, I attempted to clarify this with Nelson. I asked her why you would be calling me, and she said it could be because of the text we exchanged, and then she showed me. Yeah, what does that mean? I texted Nelson and called her. The phone went straight to voicemail like it was off. Yes, she's avoiding your call. On 9/7, Nelson responded. She showed me the old text messages on her phone the night before, on 9/5, when she was here at my house. We had went to Verizon earlier on that same day so she could get a new phone, since the other one she had wasn't working well. Really? No, she was scrubbing. Okay. She had to give it to the police? Why? It must be that the messages were backed up and transferred over to the new phone. Must be. Detective Baumhover is in possession of NK's phone, and potentially the text will exist after the execution of a search warrant. And that's it for that. So we'll stop right there because I want to get this post up.
Okay guys, in closing, I have to record this because the other clip that I had that was closing is on another chip and I'm not getting it now. It's too much of a day. It's been very hectic. I've been very upset. And we did find out that the person that did this to the group did this intentionally. It was to sabotage me. It was to turn people against me because I supported Shanann, because of the things that I said that, you know, I wouldn't let anybody bash Shanann and all of that stuff. It was from a person that was in that podcasters group. And what hurts the most is that the person that did it played on every emotion I had, even so much as telling me that they were setting fires on her family's farm, all kinds of things to let me think that, you know, she was a good person that really, you know, cared about me, cared about the group. And she continued this charade for as long as the group had been created. And then she systematically went and started doing all this stuff behind my back, messaging other mods, saying I was saying things about them. It was just crazy, and just systematically destroyed the group in the wee hours of the morning. And, you know, evilness, birds of a, what is that? So evilness, you know, exists like that. Birds of a feather, they will flock together. It's just, it shows you the kind of company that this Kay keeps and who's coming from her group and just how evil and rotten they are, and speaks to just exactly the filth that they are, that they would do this. And, you know, they'll get theirs in the end for this. But anyway, thank you for your support, and you know, I'm sick over this, but thank you so much. I'll talk to you guys soon. I'm sorry about the quality of the video, but everything was off today. Everything, because of this. All right, thanks. Bye-bye.